exposed, pregnant and homeless in the park, she discovered an incredible way to make $1 million. Emma sat on the cold grass of Lincoln Park, her heart pounding harder than the distant city sounds. She was 24, alone, pregnant, and battling an unexpected life that felt like a cruel joke. Dreams of becoming a graphic designer had unraveled into a harsh reality of survival. Just weeks ago, she had a small-town life filled with laughter and plans. Now she was tucked away in this vibrant urban setting, a world bustling with people, yet so achingly lonely. The weight of her circumstances hung like a heavy fog in her chest. As she stared at the squirrels racing by, sparks of doubt began to ignite her fears. What would happen to her baby? Would she ever find a home again? Tears stung at her eyes, but she fought them back, knowing she had to keep moving forward. Hope floated in her mind like a fragile bubble. Then she saw it, a community center standing proud with a colorful banner reading sewing workshops for single mothers. It beckoned her with a promise of connection. Emma hesitated, her mind racing. Could she really do this? But a flicker of determination surged within her. After all, what was there to lose? With a deep breath, she made her way inside. Inside the workshop, she was greeted by a warm smile from Brian, the instructor. "Hey there. Welcome." His voice soothed the knots in her stomach. Emma felt a connection to the women gathered around machine tables, each with their own stories etched into their faces. As they worked together, laughter mingling with the rhythmic sound of sewing machines, she felt a lightness begin to spread through her heart. These women were fighters, just like her. While sorting through fabric, Emma discovered an unexpected talent for creating beautiful clothing. Each stitch transformed her pain into something tangible. What started as a survival mechanism soon ignited something fierce inside her, a flicker of ambition. But just as hope began to flourish, it was snuffed out when she presented her designs to a local clothing store owner. His harsh words pierced through her spirit, dismissing her ideas with the flick of his wrist. "You'll never make it in this business," he sneered. Emma's heart shattered. Could she be so easily erased? Feeling lost, she confided in Brian. "What if I'm not good enough?" "You are," he said gently, his eyes steady. "Don't let someone else's darkness dim your light." Those words wrapped around her like a warm embrace, reigniting her flickering hope. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. With newfound resilience, Emma poured herself into her craft. The community rallied behind her as they prepared for a fashion showcase designed to challenge society's norms. The anticipation buzzed in the air, mingled with nervous excitement. But the stakes were high. Would the world see her creations? Could she truly break free from the chains of prejudice? As the day of the showcase approached, Emma reveled in the supportive circle surrounding her. Yet, deep inside, doubts clawed at her. She was standing on the brink of transformation, but would she soar, or would she stumble into the shadows once more? With her heart racing, Emma took a deep breath. The lights would dim soon, and she would find herself on the edge of everything she had dreamed of. Would her moment finally arrive, or would her hopes be dashed against the cold reality? The day of the showcase arrived, and Emma barely slept. Anxiety twisted in her stomach like a knot. She knew she had poured everything into her designs, but doubts still crept into her mind. What if no one liked what she created? What if she embarrassed herself in front of the community she had grown to love? Standing backstage, she gazed at the vivid colors of her dresses, bright personalities woven into the fabric. Each piece told a story, her story, and the stories of the women she had met in the workshop. Brian gave her a reassuring nod from across the room, his calm presence infusing her with courage. As the first models stepped onto the runway, the room hummed with anticipation. The sharp clicks of heels echoed against the wooden floor. Emma's heart raced in sync with the beat of the music. The crowd's applause washed over her like a warm tide, lifting her spirits. With each model who strutted down the runway, she felt a pang of pride. This was her creation, her vision on full display. But soon, doubts licked at her edges again. What if they were only clapping out of pity? She clenched her fists, reminding herself of Brian's words. She couldn't let fear strip her of this moment. As the final model took her turn, wearing Emma's favorite piece, a stunning gown made of deep blue fabric that flowed like water, cheers erupted, echoing off the walls. The vibrant colors swirled under the lights, as if alive. Emma felt a rush of energy as she stepped forward to join her models for the final bow. But the moment of triumph was quickly interrupted by a sudden commotion from the back. A familiar voice pierced through her thoughts. "Look at this nonsense. This isn't fashion, it's a joke." It was the same store owner who had crushed her dreams just weeks before. Anger surged through her, heavy and potent. She took a step forward, heart pounding. The initial thrill of the applause twisted into a bittersweet melancholy. How could he be here, tearing her down again? She thought she'd left that darkness behind. Who are you to decide what's a joke? Emma found herself asking, her voice steady despite the tremble in her hands. These women have fought harder than anyone you'll ever meet. This is hope. This is art. Gasps filled the air, and Brian moved to stand beside her, a firm ally in her moment of need. The eyes of the audience turned to her, some wide with surprise, others filled with tears. Emma felt vulnerability coursing through her veins, but right next to it was fierce conviction. The store owner scoffed. "You think this will change anything? You're dreaming." "No," Emma replied, her voice rising. "I'm not dreaming. I'm building something real." And for the first time, she felt like she meant it. She looked around at the inspiring faces of her community, and a wave of support surged back towards her. They saw her strength, they felt it. But just as the atmosphere shifted, and hope glowed in the room, another voice emerged. "I want to speak." The audience turned as a middle-aged woman rose. She was wearing one of Emma's designs, her eyes shining with intensity. Emma's breath caught. "I wore this because it made me feel alive. It showed me that I can fight too." The ripple of voices began to spread, with other women sharing how Emma's journey inspired them to reclaim their own dreams. The tension began to dissolve into something transformative, electric in the air. Emma smiled, feeling a newfound communion with these women. As the energy in the room reached a crescendo, she realized this was the moment she had been waiting for. Not just for validation, but for a life-changing bond deepened by shared struggles. But just as applause filled her ears and optimism soared, Emma's phone buzzed in her pocket. She hesitated, the uncertainty creeping in again. What new challenge awaited her outside of this moment? As she stepped into the warmth of the crowd's gratitude, a fresh fear also clung to her. What awaited her next? Would she finally break free, or was this just the calm before the storm? Emma stood there, the applause swirling around her like a comforting blanket just moments ago, now feeling slightly suffocating. She turned her phone over in her hands, unsure whether to silence the buzz or see what awaited her. Brian noticed her faltering and stepped in closer, concern gathering in his eyes. "Hey, you okay?" he asked gently, his voice cutting through the whirlwind of noise. "I don't know," she admitted. "What's next?" "I didn't think about any of that." This moment it was everything. But now she looked out toward the crowd, feeling both exhilarated and apprehensive. Brian placed a steadying hand on her shoulder. "You just invited everyone to share their stories. This is bigger than you imagined. Embrace it." She nodded, trying to absorb the encouragement. The audience wasn't done yet. Voices buzzed with energy, women animatedly discussing their experiences. Each shared story seemed to add another thread to the tapestry of unity that formed around her. The middle-aged woman who had spoken up earlier raised her hand again, an uncontained enthusiasm lighting up her features. "Emma, I think we can do more. We're a family now. Let us create a movement, start a support group, design even more pieces together. Because we all deserve to feel like we can conquer the world." The crowd erupted in agreement. A wave of cheers flooded the area, and Emma's heart swelled. This wasn't just a showcase, it was the birth of something monumental. But then her eyes caught the store owner lingering at the back, still dismissive, arms crossed defiantly. The anger rose again, but this time it felt different. It was no longer just about her. It was about the fight they all faced together. Emma stepped toward the front, projecting her voice to the crowd. "Thank you. I'm overwhelmed. But the truth is, this isn't just about me, and it's definitely not just about fashion. This is our chance to create space for voices that have long been ignored." "Who else with me?" Cries of support erupted like fireworks, excitement filling the room as the community rallied together. The fear that had been gnawing at Emma transformed into determination. She could feel the momentum. They could do this. She looked back at Brian. His smile was wide, full of encouragement as he cheered with the crowd. He dared to believe in this dream just as much as she did, and it gave her strength. But then her phone buzzed again, slicing through the electric atmosphere. She glanced down, and her heart sank. It was a message from her landlord. "Rent is due. Payment hasn't been received. If you don't pay by tomorrow, you're out." Panic gripped her. A chill coursed through as her mind raced with thoughts of impending doom. What if all of this, the joy, the connection, was futile? What would happen to her dream if she lost her home? She shook her head, trying to push back the rising tide of anxiety. She couldn't allow herself to be consumed by fear. But then the question struck her like a lightning bolt. How could she hold on to her dream of a community and a home while juggling the harsh realities waiting for her? Feeling conflicted, she turned back to the crowd, the initial joy still flickering in their hopeful faces. "Let us keep this momentum going. We can create more than just fashion. We can forge a place for every one of us. Together." The cheers erupted again, yet her heart felt heavy. A split between her hopes and her reality widened painfully. How could she protect this fragile dream when the world outside threatened to come crashing in? As she left the stage, determination etched into every step, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning of a fight far greater than she had anticipated. What could she do to hold her community close and also find a way to keep her home? That uncertainty loomed over her like a storm cloud ready to burst, and deep down, she knew she needed to take action quickly. But could one woman, backed by so many, truly turn the tide? Emma stepped off the stage, the cheers still ringing in her ears like a battle cry. Each step away from the spotlight felt heavier, the weight of reality crashing down just as the moment of triumph had lifted her spirit to new heights. Her heart raced, pounding against her ribs, but not from the adrenaline of performance anymore. Now it was the terror of eviction that loomed large. "Emma, wait." Brian called after her, his voice laced with concern. She turned around to see him breaking through the crowd, his eyes sharp with worry. "What's wrong?" he asked, a knot tightening in her stomach. She forced a smile, a facade crafted from hope. "Nothing. Just thinking." But the words tasted bitter on her tongue. She could feel the truth clawing at her, desperate to be free. "Thinking is fine, but you don't look okay." He took a step closer, his hands finding hers. "You just inspired so many people. Don't let this," he gestured to the message buzzing in her pocket, "take that away from you." "Brian." Her voice was shaky as she spoke, confusion flashing in her eyes. "What if all of this goes away? What if I don't have a home tomorrow?" His grip tightened, his expression fierce. "You've got a community now. You're not alone, remember? We'll figure this out together." The warmth of his words wrapped around her like a comforting quilt, yet it clashed with the icy grasp of reality. She could see the energy in the crowd, women's faces glowing with potential, but it felt distant, like a dream slipping through her fingers. "But what can we really do? It's just a fashion show. How is that going to help me pay my rent?" Brian took a deep breath. "Let us tap into that passion. You inspired them, Emma. Turn this into action. Your ideas can create opportunities. Look at what you've already done." But every idea rushed through her mind fell flat against the frantic drum of her heartbeat. She was pregnant, and with every worry, she felt a fierce protectiveness for the life growing inside her. The urgency of her situation sharpened, reminding her of the looming eviction. I can't keep fighting battles in my mind while I'm fighting to keep my home. Then let us get creative, Brian proposed, a spark igniting his eyes. You could host workshops. Teach others how to express themselves through fashion. Charge a small fee. Or even do a pop-up sale of your designs. There has to be something we can do. His enthusiasm washed over her, a flickering light in the dark, and she found herself brainstorming alongside his energy. Workshops could work and the designs. I could set up an online shop, she mused, her imagination igniting with fresh ideas. The crowd's buzz faded into the background as they discussed plans, the fear pushing her forward instead of holding her back. We need to get this moving fast, Emma said, the determination in her voice lining up with her pulse. I'll call some local shops to partner with me. The community can help spread the word. We have to make it happen by tomorrow. Brian's eyes gleamed as he nodded, the faith he held in her radiating like sunlight. That's the spirit. You've got this. Together, we'll find a way. With new purpose, Emma turned to face the audience once more. The cheers began to rise again, like embers kindling into flames. Everyone, thank you. I have an idea to keep this movement alive, and I'll need your support. But amidst her growing resolve, a prick of doubt crept in. Could this truly be the answer? In her heart, she held on to a sliver of hope. She could turn the tide, but what if it didn't work? As the crowd began discussing the plans, their excitement palpable, Emma knew she was stepping into uncharted territory. With every shared word, she could feel the threads of connection weaving tighter. Would this community rally together just like she dreamed? Or would the weight of her impending landlord's ultimatum pull her under? The clock was ticking, and tomorrow would reveal whether her vision could pave the way to securing her future, or if she'd be left with only the memories of what could have been. The next morning came too quickly for Emma. The gray light seeped through her window like an unwelcome reminder of the struggles ahead. She rubbed her temples, trying to shake off the weight of the day that lay before her. As she pulled on her favorite sweater, the soft fabric felt oddly comforting, like an embrace from an old friend. She glanced at the clock. It was later than she intended. No more time to waste, she muttered to herself, feeling the tight knot in her stomach as her mind raced with thoughts of the workshop. Would anyone even show up? What if her ideas weren't good enough? But she pushed those thoughts down, forcing herself to focus on the tasks at hand. Rushing out the door, she ran into Brian waiting by his car. His face broke into a smile when he saw her, a sight that lightened her heart just a bit. Hey, I've got flyers printed. We can hand them out while you contact the shops, he said, handing her a stack of bright, colorful paper. Emma's hands shook slightly as she took the flyers, marveling at how something so simple could suddenly feel monumental. Thank you. I don't know if I would have the energy to do this without you. You'd find it. You've got fire in you, he replied, a spark of enthusiasm igniting in his voice. Let us make this happen. Together, they hit the streets, Brian handing out flyers while Emma chatted with locals. The early morning sun warmed her back, and soon she was swept up in the buzz of it all. People looked at her with curiosity and excitement, their faces lighting up when they caught the enthusiasm in her eyes. Emma found herself sharing her story, a mother-to-be trying to turn her passion into security. They listened intently, her words cascading like a soothing melody. Can I really do this? She thought as she engaged with supportive voices around her. Each nod and smile became a small promise, a boost of faith that she could harness this moment to create something more. But as the day wore on, that familiar anxiety crept back in. She found herself battling doubt while making calls. How can I possibly pull this off? She thought, her heart pounding with uncertainty. Just then, her phone buzzed. It was a message from her landlord, a chilling reminder that time was not on her side. Emma, Brian's voice broke into her thoughts, pulling her back. Take a breath. Remember what we talked about. You have this. His encouragement felt like a lifeline. She reflected on her growing confidence from the morning. Okay, Emma, focus, she whispered to herself, channeling all her determination into the call she was about to make. Hi, this is Emma. I'm launching some workshops based on my fashion designs, and I'd love to partner if you could display some flyers or even host a small pop-up. That would mean the world to me." As she hung up, heart racing, the unexpected sound of wheels screeched into her thoughts. She looked over, noticing an old van slowing across the street. To her surprise, it stopped right next to her, and the door swung open. Out popped a familiar face, an old high school friend, Lily. "Emma? Is that you?" Lily's eyes widened in shock, and they embraced tightly, exchanging stories filled with nostalgia and laughter. And just as Emma thought of inviting her to the workshop, Lily added, "I heard about what you're doing. I want to help." Suddenly, the feeling of isolation began to fade. Emma realized she was amassing a support network, one step at a time. But doubt still lingered in the back of her mind. Could all these efforts lead to real change, or would the day end with another disappointment looming in the shadows? With the sun setting, Emma stood more determined than ever. She could feel a shifting tide within her. Was this finally her moment to rise above everything holding her back, or would it slip through her fingers yet again? Only tomorrow would tell. The following day dawned with a brightness that contrasted sharply with Emma's turmoil. She tossed and turned, the exhilaration of yesterday hanging in the air like a fragile balloon, ready to pop at the slightest prick. The thought of the workshop loomed over her, merging excitement with trepidation. Brushing her hair into a quick ponytail, she caught a glimpse of herself in the mirror, eyes a little brighter, but still shadowed by uncertainty. Today was the day the workshop would come to life. She could almost see it in her mind, an electric atmosphere filled with laughter, creativity, and support. But the whisper of doubt was never far behind. What if no one shows up? What if it's all for nothing? She shook her head, trying to dispel the clouds gathering in her mind. Outside, the world felt vibrant and bustling. People walked by, lost in their routines, and for a moment, Emma wished she could be one of them, an invisible presence moving through life's currents without a care. But she wasn't. She was tangled up in her dreams and fears. Arriving at the community center, Emma took a deep breath before stepping inside. The aroma of fresh coffee mingled with the soft chatter of early arrivals. Brian was already there, rearranging chairs, a determined smile spread across his face. "You're just in time. Everyone's excited," he said, signaling a group of women chatting animatedly, their eyes sparkling with interest. Slowly, people began filling the room, some clutching her flyers, while others nodded in recognition. The knot in her stomach loosened slightly as she watched their faces. They had come, drawn by her story, her passion. It felt like a dose of magic, a tangible connection that reminded her she was not alone. As Emma took her place at the front, she felt a surge of adrenaline. "Welcome, everyone," she said, her voice steadying with each word. "I can't tell you how much it means to me that you're here." They responded with applause, and the sound resonated deep within her, stoking the fire of her ambition. She began sharing her vision, her plans weaving through the room like fabric, each thread a hope for something greater. The attendees reacted, nodding, murmuring their agreement, and asking questions that sparked even more excitement. It was exhilarating. This was not just a workshop. It felt like a community, a tapestry of shared dreams. But as the discussions deepened, so did her vulnerability. What if I fail? Her thoughts crept back, threatening to unravel everything. The coffee was brewing in the back, the occasional laughter was uplifting, but she felt an overwhelming weight on her shoulders as she revealed her fears of failure. "Everyone here has faced challenges," a woman in the front row interjected. "Sharing them is brave, and it connects us." Emma paused, tears stinging her eyes. This was the very support she longed for, and it manifested in unexpected ways. She smiled through her tears, realizing vulnerability wasn't a sign of weakness, but a path to connection. As the workshop progressed, she felt her spirit elevate. Ideas bounced around the room, each one building off the last. Laughter, agreement, renewed hope. It was everything she had envisioned and more. But just as confidence settled into her bones, her phone buzzed on the table. She glanced at it and her heart sank. Another message from her landlord. "Rent due in 3 days." Taking a deep breath, she barely heard the ongoing chatter. That nagging fear resurfaced, louder now, weaving through the joy she'd built. Time slipped away, and her heart raced. Would all this be worth it? Would the community she had gathered be enough to lift her out of the pit she was in? In the midst of laughter, her smile faltered for just a moment. What if she didn't have enough resources to keep this going? Would she still be able to rise above, or would she end up losing everything again? The answers eluded her, even as hope hung around her like the fragrances of fresh coffee and blooming possibility. As she gathered her thoughts and prepared to speak again, she couldn't shake the sensation that something was about to change drastically. Would it be for the better, or would the shadows of doubt threaten to overpower her once more? With a flutter of excitement and fear, she faced her newfound community, eager to find out. The room buzzed with energy, but Emma felt as if she were standing at the edge of a precipice. She focused on the faces in front of her, curious eyes, hopeful smiles, and a hint of camaraderie. The laughter faded into the background, replaced by the steady rhythm of her heartbeat. Her mind raced through the implications of her landlord's message. 3 days. 3 days until no more shelter, and her dreams could turn to dust. All right, let us focus back here, she called out, forcing radiance into her voice. I want to hear your ideas. What do you feel passionate about? Hands shot up, and each one represented aspirations, dreams, and stories she hadn't yet heard. Emma listened, feeling the weight of those dreams press against her churning emotions. One by one, attendees presented their ideas: crafting workshops, community gardens, creative writing classes. Each suggestion sparked a whirl of thoughts in Emma's mind. They weren't just speaking about projects, they were voicing their very selves. In that warmth, she sensed something alive, something bigger than the worry lurking beneath her facade. As the discussions flowed, the clock on the wall ticked away mercilessly. She glanced down at her phone, and anxiety gripped her again. How would she fill the unrelenting void of this uncertainty? Can I share something? A voice broke through her spiral. A young woman with bright red hair looked around, gathering attention. I know this isn't easy for any of us, but I believe that together we can create something sustainable, something lasting. I mean, what if we organized a market? A place to sell our crafts, our food, share our stories? Emma felt a spark ignite within her. A market? It could be the lifeline they all needed. That's an amazing idea, she said, excitement flaring. We could invite the whole community. A day for us to celebrate our talents. Cheers erupted, and plans started unfolding. They began brainstorming logistics, ideas bouncing back and forth. Suddenly, Emma's heart felt lighter, hope bubbled, blooming as ideas filled the room. But amidst the buzz, the harsh truth lurked like a shadow. Each laugh, every idea, was an act against her fear, but hand in hand came the weight of her reality. She bit her lip. Would this be enough? The thought of her uncertain future gnawed at her. Emma? Brian's voice cut through her reverie. Are you okay? She forced a smile, not wanting to dampen the energy around her. Yes, just thinking about logistics. She turned her gaze back to the group, determined not to show the cracks starting to form. As the workshop continued, Emma felt waves of community rising and enveloping her. It was raw, real, and wonderfully chaotic, each laugh like a pulse. Every story shared built a connection, a reminder they were not just isolated souls fighting to get by. They were a tapestry of human experience. Let us meet next week to plan out the details, she proposed, her heart racing at the budding possibility of what could come of this. The crowd erupted in agreement, a chorus of shared laughter and shouts of excitement. Yet deep down, uncertainty still gripped her. The ticking clock and landlord's message loomed over the newfound exuberance. As Emma glanced at her phone again, she pondered the magnitude of the next steps. Could this market truly become the salvation they all sought? Would it be the bridge between their dreams and the reality of survival? The cheers of agreement still swirled around her, but in an instant, the weight of her reality pressed fiercely against her chest. She felt the air grow thick, a storm of emotions churning inside her. With every step they took toward organizing the market, a question nagged at her. Could this community really hold the power to change not just her life, But the lives of all gathered here? As she prepared to dismiss the group, she stole one last look around, the gaze of hopeful eyes igniting a flicker of determination in her heart. What would come next, and could this moment of unity carve a path toward everything she'd been searching for? Emma took a deep breath, glancing at the door as if fate itself would step through it. What awaited her just around the corner? She steadied herself, feeling the pulse of change in the air. Emma sat in silence after the group dispersed, the energy of their excitement still crackling in the air. But as she gathered her papers and notes, she felt the familiar sense of dread creeping back in. The reality of her living situation loomed large and unyielding. 3 days. Could she find a way to not only survive but thrive? Her phone buzzed once more, each chime reminding her of tasks yet to be accomplished. The landlord's message flashed in her mind, and she grimaced, trying to shake the worry off like water. A soft hand touched her arm. It was Brian, concern etched on his face. "Hey, I know you're trying to hold it all together, but if you need anything," he began, hesitating. She could see his worry mirrored in his eyes. "Thanks, Brian. Really, I'm okay. Just trying to sort everything out," she replied, offering a smile that felt slightly forced. He squeezed her arm gently, embedding a moment of warmth that she tucked into her heart for later, hoping it would be enough to fend off moments of loneliness as the clock counted down to her eviction. As she left, the evening air wrapped around her like a comforting blanket. The world outside burst with life. Children rode bicycles, and couples strolled hand in hand. Emma felt a pang of longing for a sense of normalcy, the kind of life where worries felt distant, not pressing down on her like an anchor. What if that market isn't just a plan? She murmured to herself. What if it's the key? It dawned on her that perhaps this was more than just a project for survival. It could become a hub of connection, a launching pad for something bigger. What if it created a safe space where people could come together, share burdens, and cultivate a sense of belonging? With renewed resolve, she picked up her pace, her mind swirling with ideas. That night, Emma lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. The sounds of the city drifted through her window, the distant hum of life thrumming softly, but insistently. She wondered what it would take to turn dreams into reality. It wouldn't come easy, but a fire burned in her chest. The thought of failure was still there, but it now felt like a challenge rather than a weight. Morning came, golden rays spilling through her window. She felt the warmth coaxing her out of bed. Today would be different. She got dressed, her belly fluttering with nervous energy. Armed with a newfound sense of purpose, Emma marched back to the workshop space, intent on setting the stage for the market. As she entered the room, an air of possibility hung in the atmosphere. The scattered notes and leftover coffee cups were reminders of everything they'd discussed, but she saw something more, a canvas yet to be painted. "Okay, everyone. Let us talk about how we can turn our ideas into reality." Emma clapped her hands, drawing everyone's attention. The faces of her community turned toward her, filled with uncertainty but also with hope. They began discussing budgets, setting up shifts, and how to market their wares. Each voice added to the mosaic, piecing together a plan that felt tangible. Hours passed like minutes, and within the excitement and anxious laughter, Emma began to envision their market bustling, a tapestry of flavors, sounds, and stories. Just as they wrapped up, a loud bang jolted them all. Emma spun toward the noise, her heart racing. The door swung open abruptly, revealing a disheveled man, panic in his eyes. "Please, I need your help. Someone's hurt," he shouted, gasping for breath. Emma felt everything freeze in that moment. The laughter faded to silence, fear woven tightly into the fabric of her hope. What could this mean? Just when she thought they were finding their footing, another ripple tore through the community she was desperately trying to build. She took a deep breath, one thought ringing louder than the rest. What awaited them next, and would it draw them even closer together or tear them apart? The urgency in the man's voice sliced through the air like a knife. Emma's heart pounded in her chest as she stepped forward, instinct kicking in amidst the confusion. Others in the room instinctively edged closer, their eyes wide with a mixture of fear and concern. "What happened? Who has hurt?" Emma asked, trying to keep her voice steady. The tension was palpable, each person in the workshop drawn into a collective worry. The man took a deep breath, his hands trembling slightly. "My friend, Chris. He fell while we were setting up a tent at the park. I think he hit his head. Please, he needs help." Emma's instinct to act took over. "Okay, let us go," she said firmly. She didn't hesitate to rally the group. "We need to get to the park right away." Brian grabbed the first aid kit from the back. "Everyone else, let us move." As they rushed out, Emma felt a surge of adrenaline. It was a frantic race over familiar streets, the sun glinting off the pavement as they ran. Emma's mind buzzed with the echo of her earlier hopes, but now uncertainty clawed at her. What awaited them at the park? Upon arrival, the scene was chaotic. A small group had gathered around a figure lying on the grass, and the murmurs of worry echoed through the air. Emma knelt down, her mind focused, her heart racing as she approached Chris, who was conscious but disoriented, surrounded by people who offered support. "Hey, Chris, you're going to be okay. Just stay still," she said softly, her hands gently touching his arm to reassure him. He blinked up at her, confusion clouding his face. "Emma? What are you doing here?" He slurred, his voice thick. "Just breathe. Can you tell me where it hurts?" She prompted, her gaze darting to the small crowd. The sight of fellow community members gathering was comforting. Together, they formed a circle of support around Chris. "Head just a bit dizzy," he murmured. Emma quickly glanced at Brian, who had returned with the first aid kit, ready to jump into action. "Let us make sure he's checked out," she said, trying to project confidence. The urgency of the moment sent a jolt of fear down her spine, but she pushed it aside. "Someone call an ambulance." In the background, she saw the concerned faces of her friends, their earlier excitement replaced by shared worry. Emma felt a heaviness settle over her heart as she realized how fragile their attempts at building community truly were. The laughter and hopes they had shared just hours ago now felt so distant. As the ambulance approached, Emma tried to stay focused on Chris. She squeezed his hand, a gesture of solidarity amidst chaos. "You're going to be fine. You're strong, okay? Just hold on." Chris looked up at her, his eyes a bit clearer. "Thanks, Emma. I appreciate it." There was a depth of vulnerability there, a shared moment of trust that ran deeper than words. The sirens wailed in the distance, drawing closer, and Emma felt a relief wash over her. She glanced at the group behind her, friends, neighbors, all there to support one another. This experience, horrific as it was, had morphed into a raw reminder of how essential their bond was. As the medics arrived and took over, a flicker of hope ignited within her once more. They were all here, willing to band together. Community hadn't vanished, it was still alive, resilient, and growing even in moments of crisis. Emma straightened, her chest swelling with determination. They would not only survive this. They would create something extraordinary together. As the medic assessed Chris, she felt the weight of their shared struggles, the dreams they dared to articulate, and the daunting reality they faced. Could this bond lead to lasting change? But just as she resolved to steer the group back toward their mission, a woman stepped forward from the crowd, a stranger, but something in her gaze stopped Emma in her tracks. "I heard about your market. I want to help." Excitement clashed with uncertainty in Emma's mind. Could one stranger's willingness to join them spark something profound? As the medics helped Chris into the ambulance, Emma felt the moment shift. The tremor of hesitation in the air faded, replaced by an unexpected surge of community spirit. The earlier chaos began to morph into something stronger: connection. The young woman, the stranger whose eyes sparkled with determination, stepped forward, her resolve igniting a flicker of hope within Emma. "I've seen what you're building. I want to contribute," she said, her voice steady despite the commotion. "I can help with marketing, organizing, whatever you need." Emma's heart swelled. Here was proof that their vision for the market could transcend the struggles they faced. "Really? That would be amazing!" Emma exclaimed, her surprise blossoming into gratitude. Everyone in the crowd seemed to lean in, sensing the power of this moment. They all wanted to be part of something bigger, to rise together in solidarity. That realization sparked a fire in Emma's chest. The community was not just a support system, it was a lifeline tethered to dreams. "Let's regroup," she said, raising her voice. "We can't let today derail our mission. Chris will be okay, and we need to focus on what we're building together. This market can happen, and with your help, it can change lives." Excitement rippled through the crowd as heads nodded in agreement. Each person there felt the connection deepen, and Emma's spirit soared with the realization that they were ready to embrace this venture wholeheartedly. The young woman stepped closer. "I'm Sarah, by the way. I own a small business in town." Her smile radiated warmth. "I could organize some pop-up shops alongside the market. It could draw more people in." Yes. Let us create a vibrant marketplace." Emma felt the weight of her worries shift, allowing space for a wild, thrilling possibility. Together, they could build something dynamic and powerful. The group bounced ideas back and forth, energy building like a crescendo. Emma barely noticed the sound of the ambulance driving away, carrying Chris, but leaving a newfound flame of hope behind. With each laugh, brainstorming session, and supportive cheer, the bond tying this community together grew stronger. "Let us stay connected," Brian suggested, breaking through the excitement. "We need to establish regular meetings to keep the momentum going." "Absolutely," Emma responded, her eyes sparkling with inspiration. "We have to keep sharing our stories and ideas." As people began jotting down their names and contact information, Emma sensed that momentum shifting in their favor. This wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about creating a shared dream flourishing amidst uncertainty. Days passed quickly as planning unfolded. What began as individual struggles transformed into a collective effort, and Emma felt the anxiety of eviction begin to wane alongside the support of her new community. Each time her phone buzzed, meetings, messages, updates, the worry morphed into excitement. Could she have truly ignited something that would outlive their initial intentions? On the eve of their first market, a palpable energy thrummed through the air. Handmade signs adorned with vibrant colors filled the community center, and tables overflowed with crafts, homemade goodies, and fashion pieces sewn with love. The sun dipped low in the sky, casting golden hues across everything, illuminating the passion woven into each detail. Emma stood at the entrance with Brian and Sarah, heart pounding with anticipation. "This is it," she whispered, wrapping her fingers tightly around a paper cup filled with coffee. "Yeah, it is," Brian smiled, his eyes reflecting that shared excitement. All the effort led to this moment. And when the gates opened and the crowd flowed in, Emma watched as smiles broke across faces like sunshine. People of all ages wandered among the tables, vibrant laughter mixing with the crackling energy that filled the air. It was a celebration of resilience, creativity, and unity. "Oh, look at that!" Sarah exclaimed, pointing to a group of women gathered around a crafting table. "They're sharing their stories. Just like we wanted." Emma felt tears prick at her eyes. These moments had been born from uncertainty, but now they blossomed into connection. The awareness that they inspired others went beyond fashion. They were mending lives and creating a ripple effect in their community. Hours passed in a whirlwind. Emma hopped from table to table, her heart full as she saw how the market was making a difference. The initial worries that had cast shadows over her dreams now felt miles away, replaced with laughter and joy. She had become a beacon for others, each story reinforcing the importance of community. As evening settled and the last attendees meandered toward the exit, Emma stood with Brian and Sarah, the glow of success lighting their faces. They had crafted something powerful, a stage for change where people came together to share, inspire, and grow. The moment crystallized as Emma realized they weren't merely surviving, they had transformed adversity into a beacon of hope. And then her phone buzzed yet again. This time, it was a text from her landlord. "I'm impressed with your progress. I'll give you an extension on the rent. Let us work together. You're doing something special here." Her heart soared. It was the spark she needed. This community was her home now, more than just walls or a roof. With tears of joy spilling down her cheeks, she turned back to the bustling crowd, gratitude flooding her heart. "This is just the beginning, isn't it?" she said softly, her voice steady yet filled with excitement. "We're not only building a community market, we're building a family." The cheers that erupted from all around them felt like music to her ears. Emma knew she had discovered not just a way to survive but a path to thrive. As the first night of their market came to a close, she felt a newfound lightness in her heart. They had turned vulnerability into strength, and she couldn't wait to see where it would take them next. This was their moment. If you've connected with Emma's journey and her incredible transformation, you need to subscribe now to watch more inspiring stories like hers. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep this journey alive. Comment with your reactions and feelings about Emma's journey and the power of community. And don't wait not even one more second, share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation and join this incredible journey. Your support makes all the difference.